More than 3,000 kilometers and 7 races over some of the roughest terrain the South African continent can throw at them. These are the country's best off-road racing drivers, driving some of the best off-road machinery you will find anywhere on the planet. It's fast, it's rough, it's filled with drama and emotions, and it is downright spectacular. It's called the South African Rally Raid Championship, and we go behind the dust.
Hello, I'm Janil de Villiers. I've been racing for just over 30 years. Started off in touring cars back in the 90s, won 4 South African touring car titles, and then I moved to off-road racing. I won my first championship in off-road racing in 2001. Then moved on to race overseas in off-road championships. I won the Dakar Rally in 2009. I'm the current South African Rally Raid champion. So hopefully we can do the same this year.
My name is Johan de Bruin. I'm a businessman from Pretoria. I recently started racing off-road, or what they call the South African Rally Raid Championships. Last year was just coming into the racing scene, learning a few new things, trying new cars. So this year we decided to move on to a brand new Redline Revo T1 Class FIA. This is our brand new car behind us, and I'm really looking forward to this season.
I'm Glyn Hall from the Toyota Gazoo Racing Team, South Africa. I've been involved in motorsport all my working life, so that rates back to 1976. I haven't done the maths, but it feels like well above 40 years. Some could say I've never had a proper job, so yeah, it's my passion is the business, and that makes it a lot easier.
We try and create these pockets of excellence, so really much from start to finish a turnkey solution. Hi, I'm Terence Marsh, CEO of Redline International. We manufacturers and service providers for T1 Dakar race cars. Redline International, totally independent. We can choose to design the cars whatever we want, when we want, whether it's aerodynamics to the look and the feel. We really have a blank canvas. We don't have anybody from a major manufacturer or one of the leading brands dictating the look of a race car or the components in the race car or which engines to use. So 100% independent.
My responsibility is to look after all the technical aspects of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Team. That's everything to do with Rally Raid and any other things that I'm asked to do. So Rally Raid in old terminology is off-road or cross-country, where there's a set of regulations, a car is built to it. In our case, that's the Hilux. And the races are predominantly on rough roads, gravel roads, sandy roads, big dunes, and in South Africa we have nearly all of those aspects, actually apart from the big dunes in our championship. When we go to Botswana we have good sandy roads, lots of uneven surfaces, so it's a great place for us to test.
From an independent point of view, the positives being that we're free to do what we want when we want. The negatives is you obviously don't have that big manufacturing budget behind you. Every rand you got to make it yourself. So a very customer-centric business. Customers are between 35 and 65 years old, multi-millionaires somewhere around the world that have a sense of adventure or Dakar on their bucket list. We really facilitate that process. From a budget perspective, I'd be surprised if we had 10% of what the major manufacturers are having. You know, as I said, so we're on the same playground, which is all good and well, but it's kind of the David and Goliath story. You know, the reality is they've got a significant amount of money. We would focus a lot more on reliability than performance because of the ability of our customer base to run these cars and maintain them around the world. So the exit point for us is probably at about 90%. To try and extract the last 10% of that car requires a lot of time, resources and money, and that's not something that we have.
And then we're good to go, we're good to race. Yeah.
From Redline International's point of view, we do run a factory car, and all those upgrades and learnings get passed on to our customer cars effectively. But most of the cars that we're running, both in the South African and Dakar International, are customer cars. And of course, like anything else, whether a man likes to admit it or not, there are always egos. And obviously that's the biggest thing, how to manage those egos. Johan de Bruin is the latest in our stable. Very interesting character. He's fast. He comes with a good background. When we do a lot of the training, the track guys are very good for us to train because they're clean and neat. Biking guys, off-road biking, that is also very good because they can read the terrain and they also know what it's like to fall off and how they can hurt themselves. So they bring those disciplines and neatness in. And Johan's one of those guys. He's been here for 1 year, and in 1 year he's won his first national and he's finished third overall in the championship, where I don't think anybody predicted that or saw that one coming.
It's been a difficult learning curve. We've been thrown quite a few curveballs from the start. Probably bad luck because we just didn't know what to do, but I'm very lucky in the sense that I've got an extremely good and experienced co-driver by the name of Gerard Schutte. He's been around the block. Okay, so our motto
For the day.
for the year.
Yeah.
Finish. Fast. He taught me quite a lot throughout the last year. We've got an old Class T1, which used to be the premium class, with normal 16-inch wheels on it, with the old 280mm travel, which is still an unbelievable car, and I believe that this is still the class to be in. It'll still be the most competitive class with the most privateers. There are entries from Ford, Toyota, Redline vehicles with Ford engines, Nissan engines. Cars are very similar because of balance of performance. The experienced guys say it takes about 6 years to learn the ropes to get competitive. Some of these guys have been racing for the last 20 years, very experienced, very good, very, very competitive. All in all, I think this is the class to be in.
Our car that we race in Dakar is very similar to the car that we race in the South African Rally Raid Championship. Identical in effect, just small setup changes make the difference. So again, this is a really good place for us to develop the car. We've got Janil as our driver who's full of experience. He's 20 Dakars under his belt. So Janil understands what Rally Raid is all about. And remembering where Janil came from, he was our 4 times touring car champion. And it's very unusual for a driver to be so successful on the track and so successful on gravel.
Last year was quite an exciting year. Managed to win the championship with the T1 Plus. Quite a nice battle with my young teammate Henk Latergan. It's a good challenge. And yeah, it's good practice for us for our preparation always for the Dakar Rally. So yeah, very happy to have won the title at my ripe age. My kilometers are also getting higher, but you know, still great to win a championship. Well, Henk is young and fast. He's still below 30 years of age, which is still quite young in off-road racing. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's got, you know, a bright future ahead of him. He's done 3 Dakars now. Normally it takes about 5 Dakars for you to really learn the ropes there and know what it's about. In off-road racing, you don't always have to be the fastest everywhere. It's important to know where to go fast and where to go a little bit slower. It's very important that you obviously finish the race. To finish first you have to finish. It's an old cliche, but it's very true in off-road racing. Yeah, you got to keep the wheels on the car.
After 6 long years, we are finally back in Malalan for the start of the 2023 SA Rally Raid Championship. Over 30 competitors taking on the dust, the dirt and the tarmac here in Mpumalanga.
Rally Raid racing is basically driving off-road on gravel roads through the bush. Typically our South African stages are 400 kilometers. It's driving as fast as you can off-road. Some places there is no roads, which are quite tricky, but cars are built for that. That's why they've got big wheels, big suspension, and it's also very exciting to watch because the speeds that these cars do through uneven off-road terrain is quite amazing.
You've got the Kruger Park on one side and mountains on the other, so very limited on the terrain, but very rough terrain and very abrasive on tyres. It was always tough, always a car breaker, so finishing ratios were low.
I see you were running this morning. Is that because the cameras are out or was that a normal thing?
My first time ever in Malalan. It's quite a dangerous route with lots of drop-offs, very little room for mistakes. Our focus this time around is just to finish and finish fast. Gerard, my navigator, is very experienced, done quite a few Dakars, he's done quite a few seasons in rally raid. We get along extremely well. I don't believe in fighting and shouting in the car. We all make mistakes and we laugh a lot, and you know, if you make a mistake, we say we'll sort it out after the race, but there's no grudges hold, no shouting, just good fun.
You're orange in the morning. I just take every race as a new race and just try to do my best. If you start thinking too much about defending your title and things like that, you end up undefending it. In any team, the first guy you want to beat is your teammate, so all three of us will try to do that. I've been there for quite a long time, and guys like Henk and Guy obviously are a lot younger, and they're very feisty and very fast, and you know, obviously want to win as well. But yeah, maybe the old man can still teach them a couple of tricks.
You want him to go out again?
So you can go.
If you want me to go again,
I want you to go once more.
Looky, then I'll go.
As factory teams, we build cars, but those cars get shifted down to privateers, and privateers buy them the next year. And the nice thing is that a privateer can buy exactly the same car that I'm racing as a factory team and race it himself if he can find the budget. You know, that grows the sport, and I think that's very important to make sure that that can happen. I think that's why our championship is quite healthy here, so I hope that can continue.
Calling the team boss, hear what he has to say. Okay, where's the usual pep talk that we get before the race?
I like your finish fast. I think that's the most critical one. Are we good to go?
We're as good as we can get.
Model is supposed to hold this thing. What are you an ugly old man like you?
I'm a model, buddy. What are you talking about? They were paying me a lot of money.
Some people say off-road racing is just a rich man's sport and a pissing contest between guys with huge egos. There's such a fine line between success and failure in this sport that I don't think it's true at all. I mean, you can go as hard as you can for as long as you can, but one little mistake will take you out of the race. So coming here with a big ego, trying to impress people, it's just not going to happen.
The T1 Plus is the current top car that we use in the championship. In our case, we use the 3.5 litre twin turbo V6 engine that you get in the Toyota Land Cruiser, the latest one. 37-inch wheels. It's got 350 mils of suspension travel. Obviously makes it quicker in rough terrain. There's a lot of work that goes in to make it go fast. I really enjoy driving it, and it's really a great car.
If you have to gauge our championship competitiveness versus the rest of the world, and that's kind of reflected in what we've achieved with the 3 Dakar wins. Yes, it's not with a South African driver, but it's with a South African car. Fully developed here, fully tested here. Compared to running a team in Europe, we are a fraction. We are working in rands and not euros. So we have to be very cost efficient, and we put a huge effort into making sure that everything that can be made in South Africa is made here where we can control the costs. So we are more cost efficient than I think almost anywhere else in the world.
I overshot the river crossing in the end, and my left seat belt came loose. 3 k's to go.
Tell the guys.
Mac. Yeah, put it now.
Check here, write the things down, eh? It's got to be blown out.
From time to time, things do go wrong in the car, and you can't always blame it on somebody else. Sometimes it's your own fault. The big problem with rally raid is that you don't get to spend a lot of time in the car when you're not racing. It's extremely difficult to find spots to practice, so I would like it a lot more if we could spend more time in the car, but time in the car is also expensive. Things do go wrong and you do get upset a bit, and you know, you'd like to go a bit quicker, and the car is not always as quick as you want it to be, but you can tend to deal with it and come back to the pits and ask the guys to improve on certain things and setups, but all in all, it's just about having fun.
Got lucky though. Yeah, that's very lucky.
Jeez, guys, this is the worst ever. The worst piece of route I've ever driven in my life.
Rough.
It's rough.
Up to the mountain though.
Unbelievable, and I drove like an absolute idiot.
Oh, everyone's driving badly.
Especially in the beginning. I think we'll be 30th by tomorrow morning. In any case, we didn't get out of the car, did what we had to do. Four new wheels, and will we have an extra one for a spare? Yeah. Hopefully so flat. Hopefully. Keep it neat and tidy.
I believe in maintaining very good relationships with the people around me. I try and get the best from them by motivating them and getting them to do what I want them to do in a good way. Some of these cars are wrecked in the qualifying. They rebuild the cars, they spend long hours, they work really hard, but it's a really bunch of good guys to have around us.
Ladies and gents, it's his birthday today. We'd like to sing him happy birthday. Happy birthday.
51.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Everyone join in. Happy birthday, dear Janelle.
Oh, nice.
Happy birthday to you. Hooray!
Thanks.
Congratulations, Janelle, for this.
My navigator is a guy by the name of Dennis Murphy. We've been together for quite a few years now. He's also done the Dakar with me now twice. He calls you the notes, he tells you where the dangers are, he keeps you on the right track, tells you where to go left, where to go right. It's easy to do it when you're going at 30 k's an hour, but when you're going at 130 and 150, things happen very quickly. And then to call the notes and keep you on the right track is not always that easy. He's very important in the car, and it's important that you get along with your navigator very well.
We hit a guinea fowl 5 k's in, and then my screen was broken right in front of me, so that made it an extra challenge to try and see where we're going. But yeah, certainly very, very tough. From the isn't that all wet. If you come down here, it's a little bit
We were deep in the forest.
There's only dust here that lost, but there's nothing.
And away they go, round the brain and George Skitter.
Yes, it was rough in the beginning. Just nurse it, try and bring it home. Seems to have paid off for us this far. Matt, there's something loose in the car as well. Some of the tools, something in the cabin. Jump or whatever else, something's loose and moves around a bit. I'll just take this for me.
Race weekends, the biggest roller coaster ride of my life. It's just emotion-wise, there's so many highs and lows, and particularly when you're running 45 cars, because 2 or 3 can do really well. So you've got one corner of the camp that's really happy, and then obviously in law of averages, there has to be 1 or 2 cars that didn't do well. You've got to be happy for somebody and unhappy for somebody else, all at the same time. So race weekends are challenging.
So incredible to be in charge of that 2-ton vehicle and just throw it around and makes it listen to you. Unbelievable feeling. Need to replenish. Janine, jy wil weer lag.
Nee, ons jou voorste is agterop gesit, die was voorop. Daai en aspe.
From a stress point of view, I find whiskey to be most effective. The customers and the customer base and the demanding these guys are, I think it's always best to take the edge off a bit at the end of the day.
They both are born winners. Only one person can win each race. So you've got to get everything right. You'll see them checking every detail in the car, asking all the right questions. It's like this every time. That's how we've been able to be so successful over the years. That's kind of breeding that intent in them. But if it's not there inside their heart or their brain to want to win, it's very difficult to motivate that. And to have the control as well. I won't say any driver, but a driver of moderate talent can go and be very fast, but it's for how long you can be fast. That's the trouble. You've got to be on it for all 400 kilometers if you want to win, or certainly a big portion of them. Because now, with the timing the way we have it, the drivers are never absolutely sure where they are on the track, so they can't just go flat out, and if they've got a good lead, they wouldn't actually know it until they either got to service or the end of the race.
I think Glenn has just, over the years, that's been his passion. And because he's so passionate about the sport and about the technical side of it, he understands what you need to do to make a race car go quickly. And, he's just all around a very nice guy. He's very nice to work with. We're very good friends, and we're almost like brothers.
It's a very, very fortunate spot to be in, being part of a semi-professional team. It's definitely not a cheap sport to be involved in. But I really love it, and learning a lot of new things, and I think that the day you stop learning, you grow old. I think that the earlier you get into the sport, the better. These guys can be extremely lucky that I didn't start this when I was 25, because they would never catch me, because I was young, stupid, and afraid of nothing. It's nice to come second, but it's much better to win. That's true.